Broadcasting live from the Canyon Slough on the plain of Amonkhet, this is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome, everybody. Graham here.
Cameron here.
Kathleen here.
Alex here.
Yeah, we're running a quad stack this week because there was 4 of us and we all want to talk about Amonkhet because it looks sweet. And we all have different ideas of how you could mispronounce Slough. Slough.
You have your slug, sir.
I want my slaw.
Canyon Slug.
You have your slug.
I prefer the classic mispronunciation of just Canyon Slough.
Canyon sloth.
What about just like
Oh, Canyon Sloth, how cute.
a hard G, but then you just sort of exhale? Just like
Slog.
Canyon Slug.
A cloud of dust.
So we're talking about one of the lands in Amonkhet.
When a geographical feature, it's pronounced Slough.
When it's a suburb of London.
It's pronounced Slough.
Slough.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to Slough then.
I mean, we talked about in the last podcast that we were, because these lands have been spoiled for a little bit now, that it may be that they're getting a little low on the multi-land names.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They probably have like a fishbowl full of index cards. It's like, okay, Canyon, Slough,
It's
Slough,
like, I bet
whatever
that's,
this is.
Slough?
I bet that's if you're a new like designer or developer.
Oh, yeah.
That's like your first. It's like, okay,
We have a new cycle of dual lands.
Your first job. No, it doesn't matter if they even have a cycle at the moment.
Right.
It's like your first job for everybody is come up with 5 land names that we haven't used yet, because we will need them at some point.
Wow.
It's like how in Mega Man they kept having to come up with different names for the fire guy.
Oh, right.
Fireman,
like,
Heatman, Blaze
Fetid
Man.
Heath. Oh, I already have that one. Godless Shrine. Nope. Isolated Chap. Nope.
Bad House.
Bad House.
Great. Done.
Evil Land.
Yeah, they're going to start using our nicknames.
How about just Shitty Bog?
Shitbog.
Rubbish Bog.
Today we're going to be talking
just
about.
double black.
Today we're going to be talking about Amonkhet spoilers.
Oh man, if they do a black and red land, they could actually call it Trash Fire.
Ooh.
Wow, they should. That'd be good.
All right,
Anyway.
Anyway, today we're going to be talking about some of the Amonkhet spoilers because spoiler season has started in earnest.
Oh, boy.
But before we get into that, as a reminder, Tap Tap Concede is brought to you by CardKingdom.com. If you go to cardkingdom.com/LRR, that lets them know that we sent you. And that is great because the reason we send you is because Card Kingdom's awesome. We keep getting, I love it. We get tweets being like, I thought you were exaggerating when you said they were fast, but holy crap.
holy crap!
Believe me, we're not blowing smoke here.
Cards
They're great.
showed up before I was actually able to order them. They have broken
The delivery
very
vehicle-
fabric of time and space.
The delivery vehicle, on the other hand, is blowing smoke because of its rocket engines.
Yes, that might not be
The
accurate,
delivery
but-
man was actually liquefied.
by the speed at which he arrived.
But my cards were intact.
Splash. Sign here.
and Tap Tap Concede and everything we do, of course, is brought to you by patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Check it out. We appreciate it. Kathleen, you want to roll the big old D20 and see what we're going to...
Rip.
See, we're going to do this for this week's crack pack before we get
Bye.
into the spoilers.
I'll miss you. 17.
17. Oh, I got to do so much counting. 1, 2, 3,
Life
4,
is
5,
carnival of pain.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
3 from the other end.
12,
At least you're not a
13,
delivery
14,
man who has to
15,
go back
16,
and find his own
17,
father
18, 19, 20.
because he's caught in some sort of time loop.
17. Why did I blow past it? No, because there's not exactly 20 in there.
Oh,
Hey, it's Magic Origins.
hey.
Why not?
Man, remember when we opened Legends and we
This
got
was-
Force Spike?
This is given to us by Volodante, and it doesn't say where, so I assume this was mail time. So thank you, Volodante, for this pack of Magic Origins.
This is the last core set. Because they're like, what's the core set for? We just don't know.
Yeah.
By the way, if for some reason you missed it and you gave us a pack, it may have been used in our grab bag draft. That happened a couple weeks ago. So if you have not, if you think that we maybe haven't opened your pack on Tap Tap, that might be where it ended up.
Alternately,
There
there
are
are
some in the-
many packs still in the box.
Yeah, there are some in there from over a year ago. So, yeah.
But we did say who gave us each of our packs in the grab bag draft.
Yeah.
So.
RNG is a harsh mistress.
Da 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 da. Rock Smallers.
Wow.
Rock Smallers, they're great, actually. I remember from Magic Origins
Are
Limited.
you okay?
It was a terrible.
It wasn't a rock.
Terrible joke. But
It was a rock small. Anyway.
But Cameron's anger
Four,
made
four.
it so much better.
4/4 Rhino Soldier for 4 and a green with Trample. And Renown 2. Renown was one of the keywords from this set. What the reminder text is when this creature deals combat damage to a player, if it isn't Renown, you put 2, in this case, +1/+1 counters on it, and it becomes Renown. So it's a one-time, it's like if the creature connects, then it becomes bigger. So 4/4 Trample for 5. Trample being relevant, because that makes it more easy to get through.
Yeah.
Then you get a 6/6 Trample. Rock Stalls are pretty good.
Yeah, this seems like a well-designed card.
Yeah, decent
Strong.
curve filler for this
High
deck.
pickable, maybe.
Deadbridge Shaman was a 3/1 for 2 and a black elf. Elves were a relevant subtype in this set. And when Deadbridge Shaman dies, target opponent discards a card.
Is she wearing a centipede?
She's definitely wearing some sort of bug.
A beetle on her head.
Oh, she is, yeah, on her arm, yeah. She's got a
Ew.
giant, yeah. Thanks, Nils Ham, for that great image.
I like this art.
Yeah, no, it's sweet. Deadbridge Shaman was never like a super high pick, but you also...
I believe the most relevant thing about this card was where it says elf.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was. But that also meant that you didn't really care if it died, so you could just trade it off and be like, whatever, pitch a card. Mm-hmm. So it was fine.
I mean, a 3/1
How's it feel to
trades
get
well.
2 for 2?
Everybody hates Cobblebrute.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Cobblebrute. It's a 5/2 for 4.
It's
It
just
exists. It
like I realize it fills a role in some sort of red deck, but just like I don't want 2 toughness for.
Have you ever
4
taken
power,
5
or
from
for 4
Cobblebrute?
cost. Yeah, you have, because you don't want to spend removal on it.
It just sucks so hard
Yeah.
to take 5 from Cobblebrute.
Again, Elemental was relevant, but
Was it?
Is it?
in Origins?
in Origins, I thought it was.
I didn't think so.
Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Well,
God, this card felt so bad for everyone involved.
You know, it's a much better way to spend your red mana and get 5 power.
ooh.
Pricklebore.
Ooh, yeah.
So Pricklebore is a 3/3 for 4 and a red. And that doesn't sound great, but on your turn, Pricklebore gets +2/+0 and first strike.
Oh,
yeah.
So Pricklebore attacks like nobody's business.
Beep, beep.
Yeah, like in some games, Pricklebore was just the Abyss, which is like every turn your opponent loses a creature.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that that's made its way to...
yeah. You just abyss your opponent every turn.
Yeah,
make way for Spike Pig.
The Abyss is an enchantment. that
a world enchantment.
okay, which means you can only have 1 in play.
Yeah,
From
Of any world
Legends?
enchantment. I think Legends?
way
Right,
long ago.
It's 3 and a black. Is it your upkeep or their upkeep that it triggers?
I'm not sure. I think Paul's looking
It blows up one of their creatures every turn.
Specifically,
Yeah.
it destroys a creature.
Yeah, it's not sacrifice.
No.
It does target. This is a very good, like, sort of control or stacks card because it just attritions them.
All players bury 1 target non-artifact creature under their control if they have any during their upkeep.
Wow, that
yes,
tortured
right.
language.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
It's every upkeep. The Abyss destroys a creature that whose ever upkeep
Yeah.
Yeah.
it is that player controls.
So you play this and
By
like
the
drop
way-
of honey.
At the beginning of each
Yeah.
player's upkeep, destroy target non-artifact creature that player controls of his or her choice. It can't be regenerated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the actual.
This works
Oracle
very
text.
well if your only creature is Wormcoil Engine.
Yeah.
As a side note, I was just actually realizing with Cobblebrute,
Mm-hmm.
super annoying creature to play and to play against, and also if you look at the look at the flavor text, just super annoying from like a Civil Works perspective.
Yeah.
It is literally the street getting up and walking around.
yeah.
It's like-
So now
like
there's
a-
just like a big giant pothole.
It's like, Joe, you gotta fill the potholes again. It's like, oh, was it a... It turned into a Cobblebrute, didn't it? Yeah,
like,
it turned
"God damn it."
into a Cobble. Come on, man!
It's like not only did
When's
it
gonna
cause
someone
whatever
do
damage
something?
it caused actually by being a big monster.
The
but just-
drains say no dumping, and these Izzet guys come in here with their magic stuff, and they always pour it down, and then we get Cobblebrutes. Do you want Cobblebrutes? Because that's how you get Cobblebrutes.
I'm pretty sure that's the plot of. Isn't that the plot of Ghostbusters 2? Somebody
Oh yeah,
stuff
yeah,
in-
yeah. The slime.
The stuff under the streets that causes like weird things to animate.
yeah, and then then they animate the Statue of Liberty to get everyone feeling good.
Anyway,
But yeah, Pricklebore.
It was really
What
good.
did you call it? Needle pig?
Spiky Pig. Spike Pig.
Spike pig. Yeah. Honestly,
Spit roast.
I recall in limited Spike pig was pretty good. Hard to block.
Yeah,
I
that's Is that my pick right now? I think it's my pick right
Of the
now.
ones we have?
Yeah. Maybe Rocks Maulers is
Yeah,
also
it's
good.
tough between those two.
So Kenyans and the Furboros Badlands are essentially gates to the underworld. It's
So
awesome.
it is the abyss.
Eye Blight Assassin is next. 2 and a black for a 2/2 elf assassin. When it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end
Hello.
of turn. So there wasn't, if I recall correctly, there wasn't like a massive glut of X1 creatures in this format, but you
No,
could
I don't think I think you rarely pick something off, but if you play it after combat, you could
exactly.
close out.
Yeah.
You could finish the job.
I'm Mrs. Stabs.
Orchard Spirit is a 2/2 for 2 and a green with not flying.
It's got green flying.
Yeah, it can't be blocked except by creatures with flying or reach.
Also, it can't block flyers.
So it doesn't have flying, but it
it
can
has
only be
flying.
blocked by creatures that could block a creature with flying.
Yep. It can't.
It's honestly quite good.
It can't attack through mode.
Yeah, I recall Orchard Spirit was like better than you would think.
Calculated Dismissal, 2 and a blue. Cam looks sad. Instant,
Oh.
counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Spell Mastery, if there are 2 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, you also get to scry 2.
Cam. It's Mana Leak. It's just like Mana Leak. It's the same card as Mana Leak.
Now, in
3
what
mana, I want a hard counter.
I was going to say, in what way is this notably not like Mana League?
Well, it costs
Well, it
more.
costs 3.
Yeah, which, as it turns out, is a kind of a big deal.
And it has spell mastery, which is not something that you care about when you're trying to mana leak something.
Yeah.
Especially in this format where if you were holding up mana on turn 3,
You're in a problem.
you're in a world of hurt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if you're
You
in
need to be
blue
casting
and
stuff.
you have not cast something on turn 3 in this format, especially considering there's probably already a 2-drop, like 2ing you or 3ing you at this point every turn.
Like Topin Freeblade.
Yeah, Topin Freeblade was bad news.
Yeah. Your follow-up after your Topin Freeblade, not nearly as good, but a fine curve filler for the white Renown deck. Knight of the Pilgrim's Road, 3/2 for 2 and a white. Human Knight, Renown 1. So it's 3/2. If it gets through, it becomes a 4/3. It's totally fine.
It was fine. I never recall this being amazing.
No, it was not. Screeching Scarb.
Scarb.
It's a
Scarb.
2/1 for 1 and a blue.
Wargarble.
Yeah. 2/1 for 1 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard.
These guys never worked.
No.
No. Not in this format.
No.
Yeah, like he looks like somebody sprayed him in the face with a hose,
Yeah.
but then took it away, and his face didn't go back to the way it was before.
Yeah.
He just
Awkward.
got stuck in a
very
permanent
full
Yeah,
war
it's
Wargargle.
gargle.
like, I feel like they're like, hey, how about we give you a piker with downside in this format, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, because the putting things into your graveyard was not as relevant as it. Like, oh, you could trigger calculated dismiss. You could put another spell that you needed into your graveyard and
no.
get a scry 2 off
assume-
calculated dismissal. Woo!
I assume that was the theory, was to help trigger spell mastery, but...
yeah.
Hey, you know what's a better counter spell than calculated dismissal?
I don't know.
Negate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
1 and a blue.
That
counter.
was playable.
Yeah, counter target non-creature spell.
It's a classic for a reason.
Holy moly.
Uh-oh.
Okay, this
What?
card was absolutely not remotely fair in Limited.
Backbreaking?
Sky Snare Spider.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
4 green for a 6/6 with Vigilance and Reach.
Welp.
Yeah, you know how sometimes Sun Titan doesn't have any targets left in your graveyard? So you're like, oh, I'm not getting full value off Sky Titan. Or
Yeah.
Sun Titan.
It's like, well, I
Crunch,
still have this
crunch,
6/6 Vigilance.
Crunch.
Yeah, Sky Snare Spider was very hard for a lot of decks to deal with.
I remember seeing this and being like, what?
Yeah.
It's like,
Very
okay,
Vigilance and Reach?
I guess we quadruple block here.
Yeah.
You had to. You had to get rid of this card.
Yeah.
Fleshy Bee.
Oh, hey, Fleshy Bee.
Fleshbag Marauder. It's a 3/1 zombie warrior for 2 and a black. And when it enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a
I
creature.
definitely prefer the Alara art on this because it looked more frumpy.
Yeah.
I hated the sideburns on the Alara Fleshbag Marauder.
That's fair. It's a very
It has
unpleasant
sideburns.
looking creature.
He looks like I always imagine the janitor looking in
Yeah, look at this guy.
he's got sideburns.
Those
yeah.
are just pits.
Those are sideburns, Kathleen.
They might be.
Don't take this away
It's got,
from
like,
me.
a little tuft of hair on top, too.
Yep.
Weird. Anyway, so yeah, it's if you had
I'm
like
with
some
you.
sort
The
of
Alara art's better.
if you had some sort of garbage creature, then you could get value, but
It
often
does look more like a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Often, and at the worst case scenario, it was just a 3 mana, remove your opponent's worst creature.
Cam,
Because you just sack
do you
the
play
flush
this guy
bag.
in Aristocrats?
I've been going back and forth on these guys.
I think he might be good,
Yeah.
especially because you can actually tutor for him with Recruiter.
Yeah. The problem with my current Aristocrats deck is that it has too many sack outlets and not enough things that like dying.
Well,
Last uncommon is Seismic Elemental, which is 3 red for a 4/4 that when it enters the battlefield, creatures without flying can't block this turn. This could just be a finisher.
crunch.
This could just be like a falter effect that if you don't quite get there, you still have this 4/4 left over afterwards. Like, it wasn't like amazing, but you could definitely just sort of like grease some wins off of this. And lastly, a card I never really got to make work how I wanted it to. Graveblade Marauder. So 1/4 for
Yeah,
2 and a
this
black
guy.
with Death Touch, which is cool. But whenever Graveblade Marauder deals combat damage to a player, that player loses life equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard.
Yeah,
Does this guy look like Seth Rollins or what?
Wow, he really does. You're right.
Yeah.
Wrestling.
I saw this
yeah.
guy and I was just like, oh my goodness, he's gonna fight so hard, and he never made it into a single deck.
Which is weird because it's like they're not really incentivized to block this. Like the point of the 1/4 Death Touch is that it's hard for them to kill it in combat, but you just sort of you just needle in for the 1 plus however many.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it was often just 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It is
I guess the
a
theory-
hit for 1. How many creatures in your graveyard? 0. Oh
Yeah.
well.
I guess the theory is you get this guy like first pick, and then you just pick up all the scobs, and you get all them sweet scobs.
That deck sounds awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking the Sky Slayer Spider. I don't
Yep.
know
Yeah.
about you guys.
100%.
100%.
If
So-
the Sky Snare Spider's gone, I probably take the Seismic Elemental. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't
mean, like
recall-
the thing with
maybe
the
they're
Marauder
box
though, like
maulers.
maybe I take the Marauder just because it holds down the ground so well. In
It
the kind of
does.
That's
decks
true.
I like
He's
to
super
play.
good as a defensive creature because he's a 1/4 Death Touch, so he just blocks all day.
Yeah.
Like he'll kill anything.
Yeah, I think in practice he was just really easy to multi-block, and then you're like, oh, I guess I killed that one. Because you only have 1 power to distribute, so it's like...
Yeah.
Anyway.
And he still dies to the pig.
Yeah.
Dies to pig.
Dies to pig.
And the
That
Maulers.
That should be the new way we dismiss every card. It's just like
Dies to pig.
dies to pig.
Now, to be fair, most things die to pig.
It's true. A lot of things die to pig.
Not the
Jason the
spider.
Mind Sculptor dies to pig.
Yeah, Spider doesn't die to pig.
Yeah, that's why you take Spider first.
Fair.
Spider pig.
All right, Spider.
Moving on now to Amonkhet.
Oh boy.
It's Marauder Spider Pig. It's for rock, paper, scissors.
Wow. You next leveled us.
Yep.
Anyway.
Let's talk about Amonkhet cards.
Yeah, let's do that.
It's spoiler season.
Yeah.
Many new cards are being spoiled and revealed. And as with any new Magic set, there's some whoa kind of reactions going around because there's some crazy stuff in Amonkhet. They're really
We have
trying to make
opinions.
enchantments work.
Yeah.
They're really trying to make
More
them
like
work.
do work.
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start with the white enchantment. Sorry, I'm gonna.
The cartouche?
Yeah, I think I just need to look up the name because I've just been looking at it very recently, and I'm not some sort of LSV demon that knows the names of every card ever.
We weren't supposed to share that.
Cartouche of Solidarity.
That's
Hey.
it. Cartouche of Solidarity. So I saw this, and it's an enchantment or a cartouche. Cartouche we looked up because I was like, what exactly is a cartouche? It's actually like the circle with a line around it that goes around hieroglyphics to indicate the name of royalty.
I don't know if Paul. I don't know if you still have that picture handy. That's okay.
So that's being used in a slightly different format here, but it's a specific kind of enchantment, and I guess it's got the aura cartouche because it's like they're using cartouche to mean some sort of like god blessing because they tie in very closely to the themes of the monocolored gods on the plane of Amonkhet. But
Well, it's also if you control the cartouche that matches with the trial,
the trial of the god.
then a different thing happens.
Yeah. So anyhow.
Yeah.
Cartouches matter.
All right, enchant creature you control. Okay, for 1 white. When Cartouche of Solidarity enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white warrior token with vigilance. And enchanted creature gets +1/+1 first strike. So for 1 white, you give your creature +1/+1 first strike. First strike is a good ability.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the better abilities I think to get. And then you get a 1/1 white warrior creature token with vigilance.
That's a lot of stuff for 1 white.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of that's good value.
This is like
That's
there's
thick.
there's a tokens sub theme regarding warrior tokens in white.
yeah.
So I think it just is a really nice design space where I think that
It's like a teeny knightly valor.
yeah, like the thing is
yeah.
or like it turns any creature into an attendant knight because it gets first strike.
Oh yeah.
And it comes with a buddy. But like I think that you're only getting a 1/1 is not great, but a 1/1 with vigilance is. I think vigilance is almost irrelevant.
Especially considering you're basically getting it for free.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
But,
like knightly valor was one of the auras that was like, oh, they're actually really pushing auras.
Yeah.
And it was from Return to Ravnica, I think, and it was +2/+2 and vigilance. The creature gets vigilance?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's +2/+2 and vigilance, and you get a 2/2 vigilance knight. But it was 5 mana, and it was like, yeah, this seems fair, right?
Yeah.
This is 1. This is 1 mana.
Yeah.
And you get a 1/1 and +1/+1 and first strike.
Yeah, this seems good to me. Like, honestly, I think, like, maybe all those, like, things aren't enough together, but I think you staple 3 relevant things onto 1 card, I might run it.
Yeah.
It also does really well with the Trial of Solidarity, which is the White God's Cat's Trial, which reads, when Trial of Solidarity enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +2/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. Now, this is it's an enchantment.
Right.
But the turn it happens, so you get like basically one of those white things.
So it's like a
Well,
sorcery.
it's a trumpet blast.
Yeah, it's like a sorcery speed trumpet blast. It's +2/+1 in vigilance?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But when a cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, you can return Trial of Solidarity to your owner's hand. Which is,
Oh, so you get to recycle it.
which seems really good.
So it's the idea then, like,
Interesting.
the trial occurs, someone is awarded the cartouche, the trial is withdrawn,
Yeah.
and then you have to administer the trial again until somebody completes it and
Yeah.
achieves.
So the trials are not actually connected to the cart, like they're connected to cartouches, but not a specific cartouche.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's handy.
Yeah. So yeah, all the trials are enchantments that have some sort of spell effect when they enter the battlefield, and then you can return them whenever a cartouche enters, you can return them and then cast them again for their effect again.
Yeah.
So it's weird they just kind of sit around as a blank enchantment most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, but they all seem like reasonably well costed. Like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and like, I just feel like
This one's not my favorite.
no,
but
it's not great, but like,
the white cartouche though is real good.
yeah, I just feel like this is maybe not as exciting, but I'm just looking at the kind of things, like the kind of, like, white's definitely going for like a go wide white weenie strategy.
Yeah.
And this seems like to do well, and I like the aura. I'm gonna run this aura. Or
Yeah,
at least I'm gonna
overall,
try it.
all 5 cartouches actually seem quite strong.
Yeah, do you guys
Yeah.
want to talk about some of the other ones?
Yeah, you want to actually let's
go
go through them. I have some specific cards to talk about later, but
Yeah.
oh, this one, the cartouche of
I've been told
knowledge.
this one's nuts.
This one reminds me of Stratus Walk from
Yeah,
Theros.
for Theros.
So it's 1 and a blue. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and the creature gets +1/+1 in flying.
It's pretty hot.
That's pretty good for 1 and a blue.
Yeah.
Stratus Walk didn't buff your creature at all.
No, I just gave them flying.
Oh, but it did have the card draw though.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so
Which
this
is
better.
pretty important with something like because I'm given to understand that the main drawback of creature auras is that the chance to get 2 for 1 is quite high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything that like drawing the card so that, even if the creature is removed in response or you get 2 for 1 with it, it takes the edge off.
Wait, though, does the cartouche say when it enters the battlefield?
Yeah. So you need a
Yep.
valid target.
Right. So if they kill your creature while the cartouche is on the stack,
Yes,
you don't
then
get to draw
you get
the
to draw the card,
Then you
yeah.
get got rather heavily.
Yeah.
But which is always the downside to auras. But
Still, but how often are you going to encounter instant speed removal?
So,
in this set?
so this is actually just
Limited?
this is strictly better than Stratus Walk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
it is.
Stratus Walk, they also can't block non-flyers.
Yeah. And it's a cartouche.
So, yep.
What's the next one? Cartouche of Ambition. Cam, you want to read that?
Enchant creature you control. When Cartouche of Ambition enters the battlefield, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has lifelink. This costs 2 and a black.
So
This is not as good.
on the face of it, this doesn't seem amazing. Like you get to kill a 1/1, or at least you get to debuff something to make your future combat
I've
a little bit
seen
better.
quite a few 1/1s or X1s
Yeah.
already.
Or
spoiled.
pikers.
But there's also,
The lifelink.
well, the lifelink is nice. There's also a minus counters sub theme
Yeah.
in green black. One of the cards I'm going to talk about in a second feeds into that.
Okay.
I actually
So-
think it's in Jund.
Oh.
Kathleen, can you just move your mic up a little bit?
Like
Sure.
the -1/-1 counter sub theme looks like something I'm really interested in playing with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this I think might have a lot of synergies.
Yeah, like on the face of it, the -1/-1 maybe doesn't look amazing in a vacuum, but I think the -1/-1 is going to, if you're in black, it might pay off in other ways. So, but I also think 3 mana +1/+1 lifelink, yeah, it's probably fine.
I feel like I like the other two better because
Yeah.
like by the time we're starting to get to 3 mana for like a +1/+1 effect, I'm leaning a little bit more away from it.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Ooh, Cartouche of Zeal.
This
Alex?
card's nuts.
It's Hammerhand, which was apparently nuts in Boggles, so Ben's excited about it. Ben Wheeler. Boggles being a modern and Highlander deck,
Yeah.
where you basically play 1/1 creatures with like hexproof, and then just pile on creature enchantments and Voltron them up.
It is
and
exactly
rumple it.
Hammerhand.
Yep.
What to do?
It's 1 red enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block. An enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has haste.
Oh wow! So
it's like
Boggles can now run
Falter,
8
haste,
Hammerhands,
Crunch.
or I guess in Highlander 2
Two.
Hammerhands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet.
And the cartouche, theoretically relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the green one, the Cartouche of Strength,
Biff.
2 and a green.
Oh right, yes.
Damn, I can't read it from here.
I'm sorry.
No.
For 2 and a green, when Cartouche of Strength enters the battlefield, you may have enchanted creature fight target creature an opponent controls. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample.
Right. So we were talking about this before we went live.
Seems good.
This to me, this is like maybe I'm crazy. Strictly better than Hunt the Weak, because
Which is
Hunt the
sorcery,
Week is a
right?
sorcery. This is
Yes.
also sorcery speed. Hunt the Weak is you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So I guess maybe not. I guess in instances where you're able to proliferate, where you care about +1/+1 counters, then maybe Hunt the Weak is better. But Hunt the Weak is 3 and a green. This is 2 and a green.
And they get
The
trample.
creature also gets trample, and they still fight. This Cartouche of Strength seems great.
Yeah, maybe not
How-
strictly better, but
Just
just
you can't disenchant
better.
the counter, so that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how desperately do we all want to see flicker effects in this set for permanence?
Ooh. Interesting. Like flicker the cartouche.
Flicker the cartouche, flicker the trials.
Wow. Yeah.
That'd be pretty nut.
I don't think they'll do it.
There's
because the aura's
a
around.
Mistraven.
There is actually.
Yeah.
What is the Trial of Strength, by the way?
Oh.
2 and a green.
2 and a green. When Trial of Strength enters the battlefield, create a 4/2 green beast creature token. When a cartouche enters the battlefield under your control, return the Trial
Would
of
you
Strength.
play
to
a
its owner's
4/2
hand.
for 2 and a green?
4/2.
It's a very awkward
That's
size.
Why Alpine Grizzly? This card is Alpine Grizzly.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm really expecting the synergies with cartouches to be quite strong.
I guess because like
Like,
Alpine
if I'm-
Grizzly itself was awful in
Yeah.
cons because it just traded for any morph.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how a 4/2 stacks up in this format.
I mean, I see somewhat like from the cards I've seen spoiled already. No better than a 3/2 or a 5/2, right? Like or a 2/2.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of small creatures like that I've seen in white. So I don't know.
Weird.
It's how much better or worse would the trials be if they were just sorceries that return to your hand when you cast a cartouche, as opposed to do nothing enchantments that return to your hand.
Well, if there's like an enchantment matters sub theme where it's like, if we see a reprint of like what was it, the aura that gave +1/+1 for each
Right,
enchantment on the battlefield,
Yeah,
something like that, maybe that's relevant.
and
we haven't seen the entire set now.
They're also vulnerable when they're on the
Yeah,
battlefield.
to
theoretically.
disenchants. If right now, if somebody disenchants one of my trials, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
because it doesn't have any. When it's on the battlefield, the damage is done.
Yeah, you've
right.
already gotten your
so
value.
right now, I'm expecting to see some kind of like, give +1/+1 for each trial, or for each enchantment, or for each aura.
There might also these might just also be enchantments that sit on the battlefield because people are used to seeing enchantments in like sort of god-themed sets.
Yeah.
And there's already like graveyard stuff that's going on with like embalming creatures and stuff, and it might have just made the graveyard too busy.
Yeah, it might just be more for flavor reasons.
Yeah. What I'm concerned about right now is that the battlefield is just going to be like
Stuff everywhere.
Yeah, like just covered in cards,
Oh, like
right?
on
And
the
then
white,
you'll
like
lose
the person
things.
who's playing white is just like army of weenies.
Yeah.
I think actually,
Like-
Kathleen, I think that's a really good point that you made. That there's the embalm mechanic. There's
The split cards.
There's the new split cards, and maybe having the trials also be another thing to track in your graveyard might have just been too
Much.
too complicated. Speaking of which, I wanted to
This
talk
one
about
comes
the
out when I play another card. This one comes out when I pay a cost. This one comes out whenever I feel like it.
yeah.
Like, you don't want that many like, they're all in a similar but different design space and could be incredibly confusing. Mistriggers.
Speaking of which, I want to talk about the new split cards. I want to talk. Let's just start with what was the one I wanted to talk about? Right, failure to comply. So, the way that these work.
2 is implied.
Exactly. The way that these, I'm going to get on actually my like centimeter high soapbox for a tiny niggle that I have of that the previous split cards had an implied and.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like breaking, entering.
yeah, breaking and entering, research and development,
Yeah.
fire and ice. And for some reason, it always bothered me when people spoke. Yeah, fist bumps, Cam. When people spoke out loud and didn't say that word, right? They'd be like, "Hey, do you have a research development?"
Yeah.
No.
Are you running fire ice in this deck?
Yeah. Like just say
the word.
You don't.
Say it.
I know when you're searching on Gatherer, it's research / development. But there's an implied word, and all of these, the implied word is to instead of and. So when I'm talking about this card out loud, I'm not going to be calling it failure comply. I'm going to be calling it failure to comply because it's better. I also like correct grammar in Cards Against Humanity when we're playing that game. So this is me. Like I said, my tiny centimeter high soapbox.
Okay.
For Americans, that's like just a little bit, that's like what, like a third of an inch?
Eighth of an inch.
Yeah, something like there.
Quarter inch.
Yeah,
Quarter.
yeah, quarter
Quarter
inch, I think.
No.
Third of an inch.
Third of an inch, woo!
We know inches.
Ish.
Ish. We're
Depending on
Canadian.
how big your king is.
Yeah. So the reason that these are different, and the reason that these are split with the one arranged normally and the other one sideways, is because the second half of these cards, the bottom half, you can only cast from your graveyard. They all have this ability Aftermath, which means you can only cast it from your
Which
graveyard.
makes it different from a flashback card because it's a different spell when you cast it from your graveyard.
Exactly. So this one, I like the synergy between these ones. Failure is 1 in a blue, return target spell to its owner's hand.
It's remand, only bad.
So it's not as good
Yeah.
as remand because you don't get to draw a card.
But wait,
But you kind of get to draw a card, and that card is Comply, which is single white mana that you cast from your graveyard at sorcery speed. That is, you name a card, and until your next turn, your opponent can't cast a card of that name. So on their turn, you cast Failure, you return the spell to their hand. Then on your turn, you untap, cast Comply, naming that card, and then you get your turn, their turn, and then your turn where they can't cast that spell.
Yeah. This is going to be real rough if you get a few of these into your graveyard and you can just like cast 2 or 3 complies in a turn
Yeah.
and be like, name this, also name this.
So
Bye-bye.
GrimCube, unplug and plug back in, and you just went all fuzzy. Again? Talk.
Hey, what's up? Cool.
Yeah, what I like about these, like they're set up. All of them. I think all of them are set up so that they're, the ideal circumstance is that you cast both parts in one turn, like one right after another. Obviously, you don't have to, but
I mean,
I
it's
think
kind
this
of cool that
I mean,
you
this
can.
is a rare, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're probably not going to be casting multiples of this in draft.
Well, it's like
Well,
you can cast
there are other
this
formats in
and
draft,
not
right?
name the
Yeah.
spell
Not for
that you
me.
bounced.
What's the one with mind control with Infest? It's Infest up front. It's 2 black. All creatures get -2/-2.
Oh,
I don't remember that one.
I was just looking at that one being like, yeah.
There it is.
Rags to riches. Right.
So 2 black. All creatures get -2/-2 till end of turn. Riches, 5 blue. Mind control. right? So you gain control of, or no, it's each opponent.
Each opponent chooses a creature he or she controls.
Oh, it's one that
Yeah.
they pick.
So you blow away all their weenies.
Yeah, and then they have to give you their big one. But I mean, you're not. These are both sorceries, and that's 4 mana and 7 mana, so you're not
That's a
casting this in
lot.
the same turn. But pretty cool though.
Yeah.
That honestly
some-
seems like it would be good in my blue-black commander deck.
Yep.
Honestly,
This
when
would
I'm-
probably be quite good in Commander.
One of my favorites is honestly.
Well,
Moth.
because you're probably going to snag somebody's commander with this.
Well, it's also like each player
Yeah.
is kind of a big
Everyone,
deal.
give me a creature.
But you know what? It's 7 mana for a mind control that they get to pick is lousy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
7 mana for a mind control that 3 or 5 other players
Yeah.
are obligated to give you something for seems okay.
It's also not an enchantment, like it's permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
they can't.
Yeah.
Where mind control, you can always disenchant.
Yeah. Mouth to feed was another one that I thought was pretty sweet. Mouth is just 2 and a green. You get a 3/3 hippo.
Hippos secretly actually
Hippo.
the most dangerous land mammals.
Yeah. And Call the Herd was a rare, and because it was very good as well. This doesn't get you 2 elephants, but feed is 3 and a green, and it's you draw a card for each creature with power 3 or greater that you control.
Nice.
Okay, then, I mean, suddenly that trial makes sense, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a-
Power 3 or
Green
greater
might,
count
green
matters.
might have a low-key power theme.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's like lame ferocious.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So 2 more that I just that's the new split cards. I think they're neat. Yes, visually they're maybe not the cleanest looking things, but they're all right.
The idea though that from a sort of mechanical point of view, the idea that so you can put them in your graveyard and the other side sticks out the side of your graveyard is actually kind of brilliant.
I do like that.
Yeah,
actually.
like it makes, and then if you just have your graveyard turned sideways, then, which I've seen some people do
Because
anyhow.
my thing is that I lay my graveyard out vertically.
Yeah.
Right.
Mine makes like a J.
But you can turn one of
The
these.
other problem is that the other thing I've seen like dredge players do is they take the graveyard and just smear it across the bottom, but they always do it left to right. So none of these would. Not that you're playing this in vintage.
Yeah, I was
but
going to
like-
say that.
Yeah.
I feel like they're not setting
those-
this up
what-
for,
what I'm saying
for
is
dredge
that, like,
players, but
Is that those are people who play with their graveyard a lot.
Yeah.
Right, and that would be the mechanism I would use to judge whether if a dredge player sets up their graveyard like this, that's probably what you can expect from people who play with graveyard mechanics quite frequently.
Right. I like the point that you made that like I usually lay mine out in a vertical sort of smear, I guess.
Yeah.
And so these I would put in sideways so that the aftermath card is
Oh yeah.
but like that's
poking
the
out the
idea.
side.
Yeah,
that's
I
the
guess
idea,
you turn
right?
it sideways when
Yeah.
it goes into the
Yeah.
graveyard because not all your cards have to be lined up in the same way, Cameron.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Right.
like that's the idea behind it being sideways.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, single bead of sweat.
So then it'll stick out the side of your
Yeah,
graveyard.
and
It'll be
then-
obvious.
And then
That
you
way-
and then you threaten the aftermath.
Well, yeah, and that way also, as I'm like low-key freaking out because I have cards that are arranged differently in my graveyard, it will encourage me to play them to get rid of them
There you
forever,
go.
so they're gone.
Now,
So
let's go over. I mean,
That way I won't
basically
forget
gone
about
over,
Aftermath.
I think almost all the ones that have been spoiled, haven't we?
all the split cards?
Yeah.
There's like several more.
Yeah.
but
Okay.
we don't need to go over all of them.
But I'm going to say, like, yeah, people's questions about the design aside, I love the value on these cards.
yeah.
Yeah.
Split cards are always a good deal in limited.
Yeah.
Right?
And some
Two
of them,
cards, one slot.
Yeah, and like some people are fairly being like, X or Y effect is
Not worth a
is
card.
expensive, right? And it's like, yeah, but again, like they always have to overcost these because when they have traditionally when Wizards has undercosted, basically the 2-for-1 on a card, they've been busted.
Yeah, I mean, like you can just cost like this is. It's a slightly different mechanic, but you can't just look at this like flashback, right? And
Well, yeah,
flashback
and
cards are always overcosted.
They also had to change the rules around how these cards are, what the cost of these cards are.
Right. The
Oh
CMC.
yeah, that was a big new change.
Yeah.
Because all split cards now, their CMC is equal to their combined halves.
Yeah.
Really?
When it's
Yeah.
anywhere but on the
Yes.
stack. So when it's in your graveyard, right, this would have a CMC
So-
of
7.
7.
So,
So-
there's no more cascading into boom bust.
Yeah.
So that's a
Stuff like
change
that.
from Return to Ravnica.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
So if Mouth is on the stack at CMC 3, if Feed is on the stack at CMC 4, any other zone,
Yeah.
this card is CMC 7.
So if it's in your graveyard, CMC 7, and that means like suddenly you can't interact with it with a bunch of other cards.
Don't
right?
play these cards with Bob.
Yeah. Oh. Ooh.
Wow, yeah. So, cards I want to talk about, Hapatra?
Haptra.
So this is really interesting. Yes, Hapatra,
Yeah,
Vizier of
this one-
Poisons. So 2/2 human cleric, black-green.
I mean, I already like creature type Vizier.
So legendary creature, human cleric. Whenever Vizier of Poisons deals damage to a player, you may put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. That's cool. Whenever one or more -1/-1 counters are placed on a creature,
Not just from her.
exactly, create a 1/1 green Death Touch snake. So you look at that.
With Death Touch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, so if I deal combat damage, I get to put a counter on, and then because I put a counter on, I get a snake. Okay, cool. No. Super important. The second ability does not care about the first ability.
Hey,
Yeah.
And there are a lot of cards in green and black that involve putting -1/-1 counters on stuff.
how does the persist mechanic work, Graham?
Well, when actually,
I just put that together.
Yeah. If a creature with persist dies, they go to the graveyard, and if they don't have a counter on them, they come back and you put a -1/-1 counter on
Hey,
them.
you know what? 2 eternal playable persist creatures are in green and black. Kitchen Finks and Red Hat.
Yeah.
Red Cap.
Oh, yeah.
So green has this has these cards at least that is they're very powerful for their mana cost, but when they enter the battlefield, you have to put some number of -1/-1 counters on a creature you control, right?
Yeah.
So, but this is the interesting part. Yeah. So, for example, Crocodile of the Crossing is a 5/4 for 4, but when it enters the battlefield, you put a -1/-1 counter on a creature you control. So if all you have is the Crocodile, it's a 4/3 for 4, which is totally
With haste.
fine. With haste, yes. But you could also put it on a different creature. But if you have Hapatra, you also get a 1/1 snake. But the point of Hapatra is, it's not on a creature you control. It's just that whenever you're the one putting the counter on it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if you're putting the counter on one of your creatures because of one of these green undercosted creatures, or if you have the cartouche and you're putting the counter on your opponent's creatures, you get the snake value.
Yeah.
The second ability is not tied to the first.
Yeah, and you don't need to swing with Hapatra.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't.
Yeah. I play green-black aggro sometimes in Highlander, and I've been really looking at Hapatra with a lot of consternation. I'm like, I really like this. I wish it had any kind of evasion at all.
Yeah.
Because what it looks to me like the situation will be is you're like, oh man, I'll use this as removal, but it's just like it's gonna get blocked every time.
Oh
if you
man,
have-
I
Like
haven't seen this
Hapatra-
one, Paul. Splendid Agony, 2 and a black instant. Distribute 2 -1/-1 counters amongst up to 2 target creatures.
Like, I would really like to talk about Hapatra with Allison and find out if it fits into her deck more than into your deck.
I doubt it.
I want to see a
Does
deck
it?
with Hapatra and Winding Constrictor.
Yeah, that's pretty hot.
Obviously, James is pretty stoked for his commander deck.
Yeah.
Like, I think the card's good. I just like, I'm
What
I'm
home does it
braced
find
for,
in Highlander?
Yeah, I'm braced for it being like performing in disappointingly in Highlander, just because like it seems difficult to get in with it. You know, it's like again, if it had trample or like, I mean, what else is like
Menace.
Yeah,
Menace.
fear or something like that. Then that card would be really hot. But it's just like,
It would be Menace here.
Yeah. we'll see.
And then last one I wanted to talk about was the Throne of the God Pharaoh.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
this one has my interest.
I was going to say, I wanted to ask if this got into your like your Goblin deck or something. It seems like it'd be good in the Amonkhet White Weenie strategy. It's a 2-mana legendary artifact. It sits there and by itself it does nothing. But at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control.
It's a Hellrider with no creature,
Yeah.
kinda. And I think it's probably playable in tokens.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would play this in any other aggro deck, but tokens?
And you're talking about Highlander specifically.
Yeah, Highlander. I think it could get in for a lot.
So there's also in this set, in Amonkhet Limited, there's a mechanic called Exert, where whenever creatures with Exert attack, you may choose to exert them for an additional effect, and they remain tapped. for another turn. So there's more things for keeping creatures tapped.
That's true.
In standard,
This dragon.
what do you have to do to crew a vehicle? Tap a creature.
Yeah.
Like, do you think Throne of the God Pharaoh gets into Mardu vehicles?
Maybe.
Is
It
it?
doesn't itself crew a vehicle is the issue.
It
right?
does not.
Yeah.
It's vying for a.
What does that deck cut to run this?
I don't know. It's vying for a
I don't
slot there, but like, I just like the idea
Because like
of
also like thinking about Mardu vehicles usually runs like a couple of high power vehicles
yeah.
instead of like multiple. Like
Yeah.
you're not tapping down like 5/1/1s to crew something, right? You're using
The,
like Chad to crew
Yeah.
Heart of Kirin,
The one thing
which
that-
doesn't tap anything.
Heart of Karen also doesn't tap. But
Yeah.
at the end of your turn, the vehicles are creatures.
Yeah.
So the concern I think we had with this one is that like it's obviously sweet and you're obviously sort of hell ridering people, but you're also kind of not because it triggers on your end step.
If they trade in combat.
Yeah, if they trade in combat, you lose those creatures and
Right.
you don't get anything off of them.
Yeah.
It's
whereas,
a big
whereas like
no-go.
Hellrider you get the damage up front. Like you turn everything sideways before they even think about blocking. It's just like wham.
Yeah.
So, but still, I don't know. Maybe this gets in
It's
for a couple.
only 2 mana.
Yeah,
So,
if this
like-
was like
Hey.
3 mana, I'd be like, forget it.
Oh god, I
What's
could,
the wording on moat?
What?
I
What's
could,
the wording on moat?
Non-flying creatures can't attack.
Don't.
Sorry,
like,
bro.
like honestly, I could I looking at a card and looking at that. It's like I would not be surprised to have seen them print that at like 5 mana or something because
Yeah.
'cause it could be so powerful. But they've
Yeah,
really
2 CMC has
seems
me
aggressive.
thinking about this card. 3 would be.
I
been-
also really appreciate how there's a cutout in the back of the throne for Bolus's tail.
Is there?
Oh yeah.
Wow,
The back of the throne is split,
that's really funny.
so his tail can fit in.
That's amazing.
But that does mean he needs to like slot in.
Or reverse.
Yeah, back up.
beep, beep, beep.
God Pharaoh reversing. God Pharaoh reversing. More some other ones we want to
Clear
talk about.
behind, clear
I
behind.
wanted to talk about As Foretold,
Yeah.
which is a 3
You mean
mana
Brain in a
mythic.
Jar?
Yeah,
People are comparing As Foretold to Brain in a Jar in a
And-
really dismissive way.
and this is so much better than Brain in a Jar.
Yeah. As
This is
Foretold is very complicated.
So much better than Brain
and
in a Jar.
I think some people are being heavily dismissive of it. I don't know that it's necessarily is good. I just think that the people who are like, nah, it's crap, I don't think they're giving it a shot yet.
For one, As Foretold doesn't need to tab, which is a thing. As Foretold has a couple of very important words in 2 clauses on it. It has two instances of 2 words and 2 separate clauses that are really important. The first one is, okay, well, I'll tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It is an enchantment for 2 and a blue that says, at the beginning of your upkeep, put a time counter on As Foretold.
Okay.
Time counters have certain synergies in, like, there are things that put more time counters on things from Time Spiral, right?
Yeah.
But they're marginal.
Yeah.
Anyway.
you can also proliferate anything that's like a counter.
Yeah.
Right?
Once each turn, that's one of the 2 word clauses.
Yeah.
Each
That's
turn.
really
Each
important.
turn. Your turn,
Each turn
and your opponent's
turns.
Okay, yeah.
You may pay 0 rather than pay the mana cost for a spell you cast with converted mana cost X or less. That's the second instance of 2 words that are really important.
Or less.
Oh yeah, or
Where
less
X
is a big
the
deal.
number of time counters on As Foretold.
It doesn't say
Okay.
remove a time counter to do this. It just
Yeah.
says once per turn. So you
So
play it.
You play it and you just start getting freebies.
Yeah.
Well, no,
so
you-
like,
Well, not
this is
freebies,
not
but-
quite as good as playing like Shardless Agent and cascading into Ancestral Visions.
Okay.
Because you don't get like a creature with it. But it's still pretty decent
I
to go
will-
like As Foretold and then Ancestral.
We were talking about this on stream yesterday, Alex. Because I think that you're thinking about this.
What's the ruling?
Confirmed from Wizards, you can play As Foretold and then cast Ancestral Visions that turn.
Because this gives an alternate casting cost.
You can cast Ancestral Visions for
Or hypergenesis.
a non-existent amount that you
Yeah,
can't
'cause
cast it for,
the-
or as an alternate, you can pay 0.
Yeah, because the suspend cards are weird because they're uncastable. Like
Yeah.
they have not just they don't have a 0 mana cost, they have no mana cost whatsoever.
Yeah.
But As Foretold gives Ancestral Vision an alternate casting cost
Of 0.
Of 0.
Yes.
And
Okay.
because it has no mana cost, it it works.
Because you don't have a time counter on it until your next upkeep.
This is not
You know
me
what this
making
is
this
like?
up. This is from WotC.
Yeah.
This is like Ether Vial for spells.
Yes.
It is. I was thinking
Well, yeah,
that,
Brain in
actually.
a Jar tried to be Ether Vial for spells.
But
It
there's
didn't
just-
because it
It was
was...
just super janky.
Yeah, well, and you also didn't have a lot of control over it, and it...
This one just sort of,
it
like,
didn't
gets
work.
better
I wanted
over
it
time,
to work
yeah.
so bad. But this, you can, like... You can just keep preordaining off of this, right?
Yeah.
Or brainstorming off of this until you omniscience off of this.
I
Right?
mean, that's a lot of turns, but I guess
No, well, I mean,
what-
like that's kind of the setup
Yeah.
for this, right?
I
Where
see.
you are holding up counter magic, you are advancing your board or your plan on your turn, holding up counter spells on your opponent's turn.
free counter spells.
Yeah, how
counter
good
spells.
is that to be just be like, I can roll counter spell just because.
Yeah, like if you have it in your hand, you can just use it.
And now the criticism, which is fair, is you play this
slows
on
balls.
you play this on turn 3.
Yep.
So you take your whole turn 3 to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then on turn 4 you can cast a 1 mana spell.
Yes.
For
For
free.
free. And then you can cast
And
a
on turn 5
one-mana spell
you can
for
cast a 2 mana spell for free. So it's
Yeah.
like sure that's
Yeah, it
not
is
great.
slow.
But I don't think that's
It has that inevitability. Right?
yeah I don't think
Like-
that makes it unplayably bad.
Like the other guy's got to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird.
I'm not sure that this is a turn 3 play. I think in the control decks that want to play, presuming that this does wind up in a control deck, I think you hold this up with, you play this turn 5 and you hold up like Essence Scatter or Negate, right? Or something
But
else.
like at that point, are you even getting enough advantage out of
I
it?
think you are, because those decks play games over the scope of like 14 or 15 turns.
Yeah, that's true.
See,
And that's just the incremental advantage that you will grind out over this.
And it's
And
true
that's
that
true. A control deck is all about little incremental bits of advantage. And then how good is it to be able to be like, nope, 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 nope on your turn, and then still be able to free nope on your opponent's turn?
like it feels like as soon like once you're at 3 counters, you're in the free counter spell category.
Yeah.
And then you're gold, right?
I wonder if like
Also, it does say spell, not instant or sorcery.
Yeah.
So
I
was
you
gonna
can, you
say-
can cast creatures off this.
I wonder if like green blue
Yeah, enchantment.
wants to play this and just like turn 2 it off a mana dork.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, yeah.
maybe this on turn 2 is sweet.
That seems
Yeah.
great, actually.
Yeah, and it does say spells, so that basically gives, if it's spells, then you can basically give, then, you know, free flash creatures, right?
Yeah, it doesn't change the
But,
timing
yeah.
on cards. So on your opponent's turn, you can only cast instants or cards with flash.
Yeah,
you
but-
can do creatures, artifacts, enchantments, whatever. So
Well,
Dope.
I want to play around with this. Maybe this is garbage. Maybe
Could be.
maybe it's bad. It stands to reason that I like bad cards.
So can I cast, so if
But
I'm
I think
on my
actually like
opponent's turn,
in an EDH deck, this is going to
this
be
is so bonkers.
miserable because everything in EDH is miserable. So maybe this is EDH's exact right kind of miserable.
But like, so on my opponent's turn, can I cast an artifact?
Yep.
no.
No.
no,
No.
Unless
Oh
it
no
has
no no
Unless you
no.
have flash.
Not unless it
Okay.
has flash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
That doesn't
So-
do
But I
timing.
like, yeah.
I'm curious. So what's the difference? Like Brain in a Jar says you can cast it without paying its mana cost.
Yeah.
This says you can cast it for 0. Is that a difference?
Kind of.
Is that what makes the ancestral visions work?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
because Visions doesn't have a mana cost.
It's like
Right. Whereas
so if
this,
you,
now,
yeah,
this now gives it.
if
that.
you
gives it an
tried to
alternate
cast
mana
visions
cost.
without paying its mana cost, it's like, well, you can't anyway.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing about this is that it does, by doing it that way, it makes it so it is actually casting the spell, which can be very relevant in certain circumstances, as opposed to putting it into play.
Yeah, Brain in a Jar still lets you cast it. You just
Right.
don't pay its mana cost.
Yeah. And
Right,
this
but Brain in a
casts-
Jar is janky for other reasons.
Yeah.
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 Same thing, but it's free. Well, we'll see.
last
Alex,
card.
did you have? Oh, last one.
What?
Did you have something specific you wanted to talk about?
My buddy Chad, who's fun to be with.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Tell us about your buddy Chad. Who's fun to be with.
So this guy's really good.
Gideon of the Trials.
So there's a couple people saying this guy's broken, which is ridiculous to say. It's like
I mean, he's very good.
he's very good. Maybe
us-
maybe pushed. Because,
Give us the rundown.
So
What- what-
Gideon of
what's
the
our buddy Chad
Trials, aka Chad, is 1 white for a planeswalker, which is it's like okay, I'm
I'm
interested.
listening.
3
Yeah.
mana walker.
3 mana
I'm
walker,
listening.
3 loyalty,
Nice, nice.
Okay, that's good. Good.
+1 until your next turn. Prevent all damage target permanent would deal.
That's not the strongest +1 I've ever seen on Gideon, but it's reasonable for the cost.
It's actually like
if you get
real good.
Yeah,
Like,
if you
it's
get
really
him,
good.
If you get him down on turn 3, how many threats can your opponent possibly have at that point?
Not a lot, and he goes up to 4.
Yeah.
And the important caveat there being like damage that it would deal. So the permanent that you like bubble can still take damage.
Yeah.
So and this would work on a planeswalker. This would work on mainly creatures.
Well, would this work on like sulfuric vortex?
Yeah.
maybe
It's permanent.
I think
Permanent.
so.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And the other thing is it's not
Assuming sulfuric vortex deals damage, is that
It
is,
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, damn sweet.
in the past.
I didn't think about that.
Cards like this have been,
Wouldn't hurt-
or
wouldn't
effects
hurt
like
your
this
opponent either.
have been like the next time it deals damage.
Yeah.
Whereas this
Yeah.
is until your next turn. So
Yeah, that's
it
true.
doesn't matter how many times they want to do something.
It's a
with
sort
it.
of pacifism,
keeps
sort of
blanking
bubble
it.
effect that might have like greater use.
I'm really
outside of
curious if I'm missing some sort of like functional reason for this wording rather than prevent all damage that would be dealt by target permanent,
that.
which is traditionally how they would have worded that.
I don't.
Maybe
know.
they decided to do. Is this an active voice, passive voice thing?
I couldn't tell you.
Yes, it would. It is permanent would deal.
So wait, he has
Right.
2 more abilities.
Yeah, please.
His second ability is classic Chad. 0.
Okay.
Until end of turn, he becomes a 4/4 soldier with indestructible, prevent all damage.
Yep, that sounds
So-
like Chad.
So, kind of worst case, he's a 4/4 indestructible for 3.
That's
That
great.
kind of peekaboos.
Yeah,
It's just like, that's also really good.
cool.
And then there's his third ability,
Yeah.
which is also 0.
Wait, what?
You get an emblem with, as long as you control a Gideon Planeswalker,
Gideon, not
you
this Gideon.
any Gideon, you can't lose the game and your opponent can't win the game.
Wait.
How many emblems do you make to send the message?
10.
10?
You,
Okay,
you,
yeah.
you play this and then you make an emblem every turn and just
Just drag a carpet knife across your face while making eye contact.
So it costs 0.
it costs 0. Yeah.
So you can play Gideon and make that emblem immediately,
and then he's a fog.
and there's no way for a player to interact with emblems.
Yeah. Do you know? No. Yeah, so as long as you control this Gideon or have a different Gideon, you can't lose the game. Your opponent can't win the game,
Yeah.
which is great. A lot of people are just like, "Oh my god, it's fucking unbeatable." It's like Gideon dies to combat damage.
Yeah, like if
Yeah.
you use that ability, you can't use the, like you can't turn him
I mean,
into an indestructible.
I don't doubt that there
He
might-
doesn't die to combat. Well,
Yeah.
if he's not a creature, he dies to combat.
Yeah.
No. You
you attack-
deplete loyalty
you
by
attack him.
attacking
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
Right, if he's
with
not
combat
Yeah.
damage.
The point that Alex is making is that like the emblem never goes away, but you can still get rid of Gideon.
Yes,
Right,
you can
right.
kill Gideon.
I mean,
Now-
well, also you can blow him away with
Burn
path
spells.
Yeah. So you can do that thing
Yeah.
where
when he attacks, right?
We did
Indestructible.
this. We did this in.
Why?
Was this Community Super League? I can't remember. With the Abyssal Persecutor, where it was like your opponent, you can't lose, your opponent can't win, or whatever.
Right.
It was one of those situations where like maybe it was Platinum Angel. I don't know. It was one of those situations where it was like there's some sort of like can't win or lose effect in play, and we attacked our opponent down to like minus 23 life. Just because we had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we drew removal for that creature. And then it was like, oh, cool, kill that creature. Instant lose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's, it's like, okay, fine, they have Gideon for now.
Yeah.
I'll keep on
I think-
hammering
Yeah,
my
and-
opponent into
well,
negatives. And then,
and-
hey, I drew my whatever, my lightning bolt or something.
It's not like Gideon's legend rule each other
Well,
out,
yeah,
right?
people
Like
were-
because there's 3 Gideons in standard right now means that
You can have one
only
Gideon
have
in
one
play at a
on
time.
Gideon on play on.
I know. People, I think, were unreasonably concerned about 12 Chad being a deck. And maybe
Yeah.
maybe people will try and play that deck, and maybe it'll be a little grindy, but
Yeah, how many Chads do you have to have dead in hand?
yeah, I know. Just like,
Like,
it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Also, maybe they print Planeswalker removal in this set.
yeah, maybe
Or they
Dreadbore
reprint-
comes back.
Ooh.
Like,
I don't want to make predictions, but it's just like, you can deal with it. It's not
Yeah.
going to kill you.
I do like the idea of, because he leaves the emblem behind, right?
Yeah.
So the idea of like, Gideon this Gideon dies, you play a different Gideon, and you're like, hey, by the way, that other guy left this. So if you could just,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
abide by that.
handle that.
Yeah.
And he's like,
So-
holy crap, that's awesome.
This
Why
is-
can't I do that?
This card is extraordinarily playable in Highlander. I'm really looking forward to getting a copy. I'm really looking forward to zeroing this against Storm.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, where's your chain of vapor? You only play one.
The in limited, traditionally, planeswalkers warp the board state in a way that sort of, whether it's the right play or not, your opponents tend to sort of freak out a little bit and go nuts on attacking your planeswalker. This does that even more.
Yeah.
This is going to make people freak out.
Like in limited, I think this is actually a really interesting card where,
Yeah.
like, sure you can make the emblem, but you're only going to have one of these guys unless you
Yeah.
unless you're made of burlap.
Well, it's also
right?
just
and
like
so if you put this down and are like emblem, I can't lose the game, and your opponents like attack you with 2 4/4s.
yeah.
You know what's a good tech against Gideon of the Trials? Mm-hmm. What a...
This is the one more card you wanted to talk about?
Yes.
All right.
What a...
This will be our last one for today, I think.
Regal Caracal.
Regal Caracal.
Regal Caracal.
How many people did you get tweeting at you about Regal Caracal?
Oh my god, so many people have been like, cats are back in standard, cats are back in standards. Have you seen Regal Caracal? Yes, I have seen Regal Caracal. I've been really busy, so I haven't responded on Twitter. I apologize.
That said, it's
a
dope.
rare.
It's dope, right?
Okay, but it's 5 for a 3/3.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you paying that 2 extra mana just because it's a cat? No. Other cats you control get +1/+1 and have lifelink.
Cat Lord.
When
Yeah.
Regal Caracal enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink.
What?
So this is
they have
7
double
power
lifelink?
for 5.
7 power for 5. So sure, block one of my Caracals. The other 2 will come at Gideon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 7 power
bubble
for
one up, I
5.
guess.
4 of that power has lifelink. What I like also is even if Regal Caracal dies, those tokens still have lifelink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea that Brimaz loves this cat so much.
Yeah.
He's just
They're
like,
like best
oh, it makes me
friends."
so happy.
Does it make
right?
Brimaz a 4/5?
Yeah.
4/5 with lifelink.
Who makes 2/2s with lifelink. Or no,
And
3/3s.
vigilance.
Holy
2/2s.
moly.
He makes 1/1s.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking of the other cat.
But they have
soldiers.
vigilance.
Yeah.
Also, he makes them when he blocks. Brimaz.
Actually,
Brimaz is like, everyone, listen to the Caracal. Listen to Mr. Fluffy.
And it's a Regal Caracal too, so
Yeah.
it is. It's Brimaz's cat because he's the king.
Yeah. Like,
Wow.
And like, it's a Sphinx cat, so like, Brimaz needs to knit it a little hoodie so it doesn't get cold.
Oh, Caracals
And,
are
like, bathe
sphinxes.
it.
Those cold desert nights.
They're not Sphinxes, but they look like Sphinxes. The
Yeah.
artwork makes them look like Sphinx
No, I
cats.
was looking at
Actual
pictures.
Caracals have fur, but yes.
Yeah. Anyhow, I really kind of want to build a mono white Catmander deck now. I mean,
Sorry.
there's a lot of good cats in green is the problem.
Just looking at Brimaz again, I haven't looked at this card in a while. This card is so pushed.
Yeah, this card's ridiculous.
So pushed. Like, hang on. Let's get a 3/4 for 3. That's pretty decent.
That's good.
Let's give it vigilance.
Oh,
What?
wow, okay.
No, wait. When it attacks, it makes 1/1s that are tapped and attacking. Those
No,
also
no.
have vigilance.
yeah,
Okay.
they're not tapped and attacking because they have vigilance.
Okay, geez, wow.
Just that are attacking.
Thanks, this is
Wait,
great.
no, hang on. Let's have him
But
make
there's
them.
more?
Let's have him make them also when he blocks.
Put the liquor down.
No, I want my kitty soldier. And I want him to be the best kitty.
More cats, more
They're
cats.
good
more
cats, Bront.
So I was actually
Penelope
just
was designing that card.
Yeah.
Cat.
I was just thinking that I want to, because of how the legendary planeswalker rules work. I kind of want the situation of 2 players having Gideon of the Trials on either side and them just bubbling each other all
Yeah.
day
It's like,
because it's permanent, right? So you
Yeah.
can,
yeah.
so
Just
the only
2
thing
Gideons
that
like staring across the battlefield, flexing at each other.
yeah, they're just grunting and bouncing off each other.
Just like holding
Sweatily.
one
Glistening.
dude back like this, like do the hit with like the hand on the head, and the guy's like, that's how I interpret the bubble ability. He was just
Yeah.
like, no.
No, it's a hockey fight. And they're just feeding each other
Yeah.
shots, and neither of them falls down.
They both pulled each other's surls over their head. They're just feeding them until teeth start falling out.
Oh, Chad.
Wow.
I ain't hurt.
So Amonkhet looks sweet.
Yeah.
It's
We're
gonna be
really
sweet.
excited to see the rest of the cards as well. And I've been enjoying the spoiler season. I liked that they weren't just like, here's all the rares.
Yep.
There's been uncommons and commons and
Yeah, it
stuff
really
that's
feels like
interesting.
it
Well,
looks
we'll
like
see the rest
another
of them by
really
next week,
interesting
right?
synergistic set.
Because of the PPR.
Exactly.
right.
Don't forget the Amonkhet pre-release, 11 a.m. on Friday, April 14th, with special guests Josh Lee Kwai from the Command Zone, Magic cosplayer Christine Sprankle, MTG streamer Cameron Eldis, aka Ilion TV,
Other Cameron.
and
Second Cameron.
and Aaron Forsyth from Wizards of the Coast.
He's gonna school us all because he's really good at playing Magic.
Yeah,
I've played against Aaron before, and it's always kind of
He's a
disheartening.
good dude.
Yeah.
And myself and Kathleen and Cameron and Adam will be here as well, and it's going to be an all-day stream, and we're really, really, really excited for it. So make sure to check that out on twitch.tv/LoadingReadyRun for the Amonkhet pre-release. And as always, once again, cardkingdom.com/LRR. The show is brought to you by Card Kingdom, and this show and all of our shows are brought to you by patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Check out those things. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So talk to y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.